Additionally, it appeared that Caitlin Clark was considering collaborating with none other than superstar player Sabrina Ionescu. Guys, I'm here to tell you that there has been a lot of conjecture that Caitlin Clark would like to work with none other than basketball sensation Sabrina Ionescu. Now, I'm not claiming that this is true, but it does seem really unsettling. With those 4 words, Sabrina Ionescu stunned the WNBA community. She is very important. She's much more to the game than just showing up and playing, you know? And I believe that the excitement in Indy at the moment makes it clear whether or not she is performing. This compliment from Liberty star Ionescu wasn't just surprising. It completely shifted the landscape of a league where the majority of players either ignore or hate Caitlin Clark. However, why now? And after the game, what actually transpired in that tunnel? Was it smart recruiting, sincere respect, or a subliminal warning to the Indiana Fever front office that the Liberty are prepared to strike if they make a mistake with Clark's future? Look in your pockets. Verify. Hey, your lunch money will be stolen. I received a perfect score. 100 clips for firearms. New York is where I'm from. New York. Look. Pay attention. Don't be upset with me. The Indiana Fever. Don't be upset. With me, Caitlin and I went to the Fever. I'm from New York if Caitlin is taken by the New York Liberty. New York, whatever it was, the whole story was turned upside down at this point. For several months, by selling out arenas, increasing TV ratings, and pushing the Indiana Fever into the playoffs, Caitlin Clark has been carrying the WNBA on her shoulders. However, she has been treated with blatant disrespect at worst and a cold shoulder at best by both coaches and players. In athletics, it begins like this. In the NFL, it begins like this. In the NBA, it begins like this. Before a player is eventually traded, there are indications that things are starting to move. The player eventually indicates where they are going next. You are under notice. Indiana Fever. You're under notice. You should be aware of what you have, what is happening, and the asset that is in front of you. You should also take whatever necessary action to rectify the situation. Remember that the players chose Clark as the 9th guard. For the All-Star game, 9th. Naturally, Caitlin received 50% of the vote from fans. In the media vote, she came in 3rd place among the guards, right? However, the players picked her 10th among the guards. According to the legendary Dick Vitale, that accounted for the remaining 25% of the vote. And did Dickie V, who shared this on social media, ever get angry over that? The fact that Caitlin Clark was chosen as the 9th best guard among WNBA players is pure jealousy. No caps. They will eventually understand the impact she has had on every WNBA player. Improved TV ratings, sold-out audiences, higher wages, and chartered aircraft. She has broken rookie scoring records, led the league in minutes and assists, and been insulted, pushed, and harassed off the floor. Fans adore her, and corporations swarm to sponsor her, sometimes with no foul calls and other times with no consequences. It appears that her peers are committed to acting as though she is not the league's most important player. The New York Liberty then changed the course of events. So guys, there is a WNBA team that has been really involved and has made it known that they want Caitlin Clark or will eventually want her in a similar manner. They made it very apparent that the New York Liberty is that team. And we just watched the New York Liberty players meet up with Caitlin Clark following the game tonight. It's Stewie. Sabrina Ionescu is the one. Sandy Brandello is there. Stewie will remain in New York for the remainder of her career, by the way. I'm going to be 99% certain that Stewie won't be leaving. He's not going to leave New York. Sabrina will not be leaving New York after her first season. I believe Caitlin Clark has a 50-50th chance of leaving Indiana. It's following a fierce battle against the Stars of Fever. Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu, and Breanna Stewart were seen standing with Caitlin Clark and her agent in the tunnel. The pictures quickly went viral. Listen, it's definitely not nothing, but I'm not saying it's everything. It's more like something, I believe. Something I believe. We had better listen carefully to this, everyone. You had better tighten up if I'm the Indiana Fever. You'd better straighten up. Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White, Amber Cox, and Kelly Cross may be leaving. She made it known. On national television, you all witnessed her exchange Sammy Brondillo for Cheryl Reeves. You all witnessed her completely degrade Cheryl Reeve and trade her for the Liberty coach on national television. This was no casual post-game conversation.
No.
The presence of Clark's agent completely alters the situation. Isn't chit-chat? That's business. The moment was rendered much more intense by what transpired next. It has been allowed by the New York Liberty. They have long understood that Caitlin Clark is what they want. Have you witnessed Caitlin Clark being treated unfairly by the New York Liberty? No. Have you witnessed their egregious fouling and knocking her around? No. They are taking a long-term approach. Why has the Liberty been playing chess the entire goddamn time while the Fever and everyone else are playing checkers? Caitlin Clark was the subject of the full-court press of the New York Liberty. Do you see the woman wearing the white pants and Brianna Stewart wearing a blue shirt? Do you recognize the person on the left? Do you know who that is? That's the agent for Caitlin Clark. You know, they even got the agency involved. They are constructing. They are getting ready to take Caitlin Clark to the Statue of Liberty in New York. Oh no. The Liberty players took the initiative to publicly commend Clark rather than sidestep the questions or minimize the exchange. She was referred to as a knockdown shooter by Brianna Stewart. But more significantly, she uttered a phrase that has been absent from every other locker room in the league. She is a player with amazing range and constant court awareness. Show respect, right? So let's get started with the Caitlin discussion. Come on, let's do it. You all despise her. Wait, I've heard you despise her on the street. That is a word. Man, I've heard that everyone despises her. God, oh God. No. Hey, that's what it feels like. That's what people think. In Indiana, it feels like that. No, I mean that I'm kind of glad she's in this league. It goes without saying that I'm glad she's brought in so many new fans. In addition to Angel Reese, and keeps bringing in those fans. To be at the Fever game and have it sold out like that is... I don't know if they've all sold out, but I do know that it's been quite close. Additionally, she will become a very exceptional professional. However, individuals must also give her a little time to experience ups and downs, sort things out, and recognize that there is a change when you go from college to a professional level. However, as you can see, she scored about 30 points in her most recent game and is beginning to feel more at ease. She plays really well. It's respect up here, Stewart said. Then Sabrina arrived. Recall that Ionescu is more than just a symbol of liberty. She was originally thought to be women's basketball's next big thing, the Oregon record-breaking collegiate sensation, the athlete many believed would change the league. She is now publicly expressing her love for the sport's new face. I mean a lot more to the game than just showing up and playing, Sabrina wrote in her post-game remarks. Yes, it's clear that we are close friends. Through this process, I've been able to speak with her quite a bit. Just attempting to serve as a sort of soundboard for her and that voice after going through something very similar. And you know that it's terrible that we don't have her. But Shay's much more than simply showing up and playing the game. And whether she's playing or not, I believe you can tell it by the sheer energy in Indy right now. She was aware of the Clark effect. She acknowledged that Caitlin's influence extends beyond the box office results. That Clark's influence is felt by the audience even when she is not on the floor. ICU suddenly changed from being a quiet opponent to an outspoken advocate. There is no more strategic timing. Although the majority of the league is while continuing to minimize Clark's accomplishments, the Liberty are demonstrating to her what it's like to be welcomed, wanted, and respected rather than resented. It's not just chatter either. Well, she heals from her accident. Coach Sandy Brondello said she would be happy to give Clark the coaching hat. Ken Clark is obviously out of the game, coach, but she has stated that she wants to support you. Have you learned anything about her coaching qualities from a coaching standpoint? Yes, not quite yet. Caitlin's lack of interest in this game is regrettable, but she will still have a significant influence on this team. To be honest, I'll let her take on the role of coach as much as she wants. We're going to experiment with it a little, you know? I believe you've seen it with the Fever, and it will be entertaining. When she wasn't playing, she was rather active on the sidelines, so we'll also make use of that. She praised Clark's leadership, intelligence, and presence on the sidelines. Not as a novice learning the ropes, but as a basketball brain worth listening to. But let's be honest, that tunnel moment wasn't just a gesture made after the game. Clark's agent was there, smiling and making eye contact as he made a recruitment pitch. And what do you know? Caitlin Clark was also grinning. Despite the drama, the loss, and the chaos, that kind of passion speaks for itself. It says, "This team sees me." For supporters who are listening carefully, the message is clear. This is a team that doesn't just tolerate my spotlight, they amplify it. Instead of playing checkers, the Liberty are playing chess. While other teams are busy attempting to get Clark on the court, New York is getting ready for their next dynasty. And they know exactly who the missing element is. Picture Caitlin Clark and Breanna Stewart engaging in pick and roll. Picture Clark and Ionescu in the backcourt. They are both exceptional passers, long-range shooters, and unselfish playmakers. Consider a group that was established to support her. Intuition rather than stifle it. A coach who schedules plays around her instead of controlling her with small restrictions. It's only a fantasy for now. But this is the kind of future Clark deserves. She is no longer just a beginner, being the franchise-altering, league-changing, ticket-selling superstar that she is. The Liberty are smart enough to treat her as such. On the other hand, the Indiana Fever have been handed the golden goose, but they don't seem to know how to handle it. After 2 seasons, they're still figuring out how to use her. She's voiced her frustration with the minute restrictions. Her frustration has been apparent on the court. After games, she now hangs out with a rival squad that clearly gets her. Fans are observing when a generational athlete starts to smile more around her rivals than her own squad. There is a project underway. The Liberty have unquestionably taken action. Sabrina Ionescu's commendation was more than just admiration. The statement was thoughtfully made. A statement to the league, a statement to the fans, and most importantly, a statement to Caitlin Clark. We know who you are, we value you. We'll be ready when you are. As a result, it is no longer unclear if the Liberty want Caitlin Clark. The question is, how long until she wants them back? The question is not whether Clark will resign, but when. If Indiana keeps wasting her opportunity and surrounds her with resistance instead of support, the WNBA will have more than just a new top team when she does. A higher bar will be set for it, because respect is powerful. When Sabrina showed it to Caitlin Clark, she was not only being thoughtful, but also wise. Leave a comment introducing Clark to Liberty, since they might already consider her one of their own. The WNBA All-Star Weekend was held here in Indianapolis. They're calling it in Miami. They claim it was Miami in Indianapolis. Due to her injuries, Caitlin Clark was unable to participate in the All-Star game by herself. It was a torpedo to the entire weekend. On social media, fans are furious. Seats are empty and ticket prices are falling in real time. Tickets for today's All-Star T-Well are much less expensive than they were yesterday and last night. They have sustained serious harm. Furthermore, I think it's a bit of a problem. The historic celebration in her hometown turned into the WNBA's worst nightmare. So, how did this happen? Lastly, what did fans hear Kathy Engelberg say? Demanded accountability. Let's analyze it. Of course, one of the stories we have been following over the last 2 days is about Caitlin Clark, the legendary Indiana Fever and WNBA player who is a standalone superstar. Despite missing all of the action on the court, she will still take part in the festivities this weekend. Indianapolis was set to host the most well-known All-Star weekend in WNBA history. 34 floors of a painting of Caitlin Clark obscured the skyline. When you go to Indianapolis, people have been talking about this. Directly above the 34-story banner of the JW Marriott is this Caitlin Clark banner. The largest banner that JW Marriott has ever had is incredibly large. Could think about the bracket? Do you remember the 2021 NCAA tournament? It's bigger than that too. 113,000 square feet. It's not real. Also visible from downtown is what's written in my town. This is definitely attracting everyone's attention. And the best person to be on it is Caitlin Clark, the famous lady herself. Local businesses raised their stock. More people worked in restaurants. The best tickets sold for thousands of dollars. While the average resale price was $262, ticket prices also soared. What occurs when Caitlin Clark is injured? Your demand vanishes because people won't pay to see these athletes who don't value the success of their sport. People aren't paying for it. And we're right here. The cost of tickets to this All-Star game has been reduced by 50%. Both demand and ticket prices fell precipitously. Caitlin Clark is not the only on-court product who suffers when number 22 is absent. For the entire weekend, economic opportunities have been adversely affected. The NBA announced on NBA Central that the get-in price for the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis has dropped 48%. Her coronation was scheduled for July 8th. Instead, it turned into a financial disaster. The breakdown began as soon as Caitlin's groin problem was made public. Within hours of the news being shared on social media, on July 17th, ticket prices soared. It is now only $64 instead of $262. Let's get started. The cost of entry to the Indianapolis WNBA All-Star Game was cut by 48%. It went from $121 to just $64 once it was revealed that Caitlin Clark would not be performing. I'm done, these folks state. People are seeing firsthand how valuable Caitlin Clark is to this league, particularly for the All-Star Game. And they are selling their tickets so much that they simply want to get rid of them. Those who had bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star Game made arrangements only to come to Indiana to watch her. While buyers disappeared and sellers panicked, I'd rather not watch. No, Caitlin, no thanks, fans responded. Despite the fact that entry was lowered from $121 to just $65, no one wanted to go in, even though it was obvious that Clark was trying to sell them for pennies. Regarding the venue, all 17,000 tickets, or however many they had, have already been sold. Nevertheless, the arena's stores and vendors won't have as many patrons as they would if Caitlin Clark were there. The arena at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which had sold out every Fever game this season, was now facing empty seats for the first time in 2 years. This wasn't just about money, though. There were also vendors, significant losses, hotels, cancellations, and unsold items, businesses in the neighboring restaurants' neighborhoods. And tourist destinations won't see as many customers as they would if Caitlin Clark were in good health. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA wouldn't be as popular. Ticket prices plummeted when it was announced that the only star would miss the All-Star Game and the celebrations. And they have been circling the drain ever since in a desperate bid to keep from being flushed. Anonymous players are attempting to make layups for less than $70 as of this morning. She had previously missed regular season games in May because of a quad, so this wasn't the first time it had happened. In actuality, Clark's injury was expected. She made no adjustments during practice, and opponents consistently wore her down since they knew the referees wouldn't shield her. Consequently, prices fell again, with a Chicago game falling 71% and a Washington game falling 47%. But this time, the crash was unprecedented, and it happened during her hometown's All-Star Game. What is your assessment of Caitlin Clark's particular physical struggle? Whether it be during tonight's game or more typically as you've grown accustomed to coaching, or simply what you observe her going through physically. Are you attempting to find me once more? I'm not. The majority of elite athletes in other sports get the whistle. Regretfully, that whistle has not been given to Caitlin Clark. In essence, Stephanie White has stated on record that there is a backup whistle if you play against Caitlin Clark. This season, she has been the subject of 20% of all egregious fouls in the league, which is equivalent to one player receiving nearly 25% of the most severe hits in the league. Although Stephanie White, her own coach, remained utterly mute throughout the officiating. She anticipated it and cautioned that refs were doing nothing, and that Clark was being played more physically than anyone else in the league. Legends of the WNBA, like Lisa Leslie, even said it out loud, as you might imagine. I was severely taped around my thigh and glute to ensure that there was enough pressure to retain that groin when I suffered a similar injury in 2006. I feel bad. For Caitlin Clark, the challenging aspect is that the groin is not something you can simply touch and leave. Her injury is one that is managed but never fully recovers. That injury, in my opinion, is particularly difficult since it persists. You can feel fine regardless of the amount of medication you take. You return to the world. One step, one direction shift, and suddenly you're experiencing the same kind of pain again. She is therefore going to suffer a difficult injury. This is where you are in a lot of agony. You must need extensive deep care, including rest, heat, and ice. To handle poorly, in this instance, the statistics support it. The Washington Post reports that during the last 2.5 seasons, the WNBA has seen 57 head and neck injuries, the majority of which have occurred in guards and small forwards like Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Aaliyah Boston. Therefore, it wasn't shocking when Clark finally went down. It was a slow-motion car crash that everyone anticipated. After that, there was silence as fans boycotted, vendors suffered losses, and the ticket market in flames. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert was the center of attention. Would she acknowledge that the officiating had failed? The referees are not going to call on Caitlin or anything on you for hurting Caitlin because I think Cathy has a system in place to allow Caitlin Clark to be attacked. This is just my theory, but I'm telling you now. This is a hell of a theory because I think Cathy has a systematic placement for Caitlin Clark to get hurt. Last year, she stated that they need drama to get clicks. Guys, drama sells more than anything else. However, they aren't considering how long this will last. Caitlin Clark gets hurt, she loses her fan base and all the hype. And guess what? The league will fail. Would she pledge to protect the league's biggest star number? Instead, she used the same corporate jargon that fans have grown accustomed to. The disconnect was deafening, while fans pleaded for genuine answers. Engelbert spoke as if nothing were wrong, while the All-Star game was falling apart in front of everyone. It wasn't just the empty seats. It was the energy. It was flat, dull, and lifeless. She mentioned shared goals, productive meetings, and team profitability. But she said nothing about protecting players or about Clark. During All-Star Weekend, the New York Liberty mascot was seen attempting to recruit Caitlin Clark, and that moment garnered more attention than the actual basketball. The game itself was an embarrassment, with players jacking up deep threes. No defense, no competition, and just a glorified layup line. One fan called it a mockery of the sport. In an attempt to recruit Caitlin Clark, the New York Liberty sent their mascot in. We have never witnessed that before. I doubt that we have ever witnessed that before. We have never witnessed a mascot being sent in. They are exerting a lot of effort and doing everything they can. It's like, you know what? It's All-Star Weekend. Served as a harsh reminder that without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would have no spotlight, buzz, sales, or momentum. The league had it all: a generational star, record viewership, national attention. and millions of dollars in new revenue. But instead of defending her, they allowed the referees to overlook every shove, hit, and egregious foul until her death. It will become somewhat obvious if we start sending our players around her because the Liberty, in contrast to the league, seem to recognize Clark's value. If you believe the WNBA can recover from this, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're sick of seeing Caitlin Clark treated disrespectfully, click the like button. The outcome was an all-star game that turned into a joke, a fan base that organized boycotts, and leadership that was also afraid to speak the truth. The question now is straightforward. Did the WNBA just blow its biggest opportunity ever? Will they finally learn to protect the players and fans keeping this league alive? For more harsh realities, subscribe, and see you in the upcoming one.